Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to Melanin and Moonlight. I am one of your hosts, Tyrell Collins.
And I'm Vernon Scott. Nice to have y'all with us today.
Yes, so glad to be back. Vernon, how have you been?
I'm all right. I'm as best as can be. It's been emotional 24 hours, but I make the best of it.
Absolutely. And isn't those like that first 24 hours like the whole roller coaster of emotions?
Listen, ain't that the truth? How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I was supposed to have an event that was supposed to happen at towards like the end of this week that has now been canceled, and I'm actually kind of glad about it because it's an educational event. It's a conference. They ended up having to be
Mhm.
canceled, and I was excited to present and all, but I'm like, listen, a brother got the other things going on, so I'm like, mm, am I all that sad? No, because I still get to put it on my resume. It still counts. So
Amen.
that's a tip. That's a tip for future for anybody in academics. If you actually present somewhere and it's canceled for some reason, if your name is printed in a booklet, it still goes on your resume.
Listen, I,
It doesn't matter if it's canceled or not.
I appreciate that. I don't present that much, so but that is good to know just for future references. Yeah, oh, gotta love random changes in plans. I actually had to change up some of my weekend plans too, but
Mm,
gonna spend some time with a couple friends. I'm looking forward to that. So it's
okay,
always a good time.
absolutely.
Um, but anyways, what do you have on your radar for today? Oh wait,
Well,
before you go into that, we are a week away from Beyond the Gates.
yes. Yes,
So
we are. And the more news that we keep getting, it just solidifies. Like, like I say, I'm really hoping it lives up to all of its hype. It has like, as what people are saying online, like the Marvel's Avengers type, team when it comes to like the writing and everything like that. And then it was just announced that one of the main star, legendary stars that's actually on the current soap opera I watch, which is General Hospital, John Lindstrom, he is actually going to be a new character on Beyond the Gates. So I was like, John Lindstrom pulling double duty like some of these legend soap actors. You don't be using them for stories, so it's like, hey, let me actually do dual roles. So I love it. So it seems like and I found out actually did not know this, but I did find out for the soap opera I watch, which is General Hospital. Beyond the Gates is actually coming on in the same time slot. So. mm,
oh, that's
yeah,
that's going to
so
be a challenge for you.
no, it's really not. The Gates is gonna come first. I can always, my thing is like, General Hospital. I love it, but it's like after all these years of watching, it's like I can just skip a few days. I can like let's look at some like brief highlights. Even for weeks that do look like they good, they always got to be on some bull.
Yeah, and if I
You
remember
know, so.
correctly, they're all on Paramount Plus now too. So,
Mhm.
I think that's the streaming service that Beyond the Gates is on. I'll get back to that.
It's gonna be on Paramount. Yeah, it'll be on
So,
Paramount Plus for streaming. But yeah, it comes on. It's gonna come on CBS.
so yeah, you'll be able to see General Hospital then.
It's like it usually always takes anyway. The only time I usually watch the soap is like if I'm home and I watch it live or whatever.
hmm
And most times I don't. Sometimes I purposely don't watch it live because I be trying to fast forward, especially some
Fair,
days that I want to skip.
fair. But anyways, back to the radar. What's on
Yeah.
yours?
Oh, yeah, no, well, of course, happy. I don't know if this is technically like a happy belated Valentine's, Valentine's to everybody, but of course, we're recording this around the time, just a few days after Valentine's Day and things like that. So, happy belated Valentine's. Like I say, I don't know if that's a thing or not, but yeah, I really was saying to myself that the commercialization for Valentine's Day is like always so like in your face that it starts almost like 2 months before, so it really starts pretty much after Christmas, and then I think, between the nature of social media and, even like what brands try to do, I think it's just one of those things that yeah, it's interesting to think about like the commercialization for Valentine's Day today. And so I don't know. I want to say it's part of like a very social media and influencer kind of driven consumption in a way. So
Hmm.
like as I think about, because even though I'm not on TikTok, like I know like I've heard of course like the TikTok shop, right? And like Instagram shopping. And so like these aspects about, oh, like let me impulse buy, like a balloon to like send to somebody, or let me impulse, and buy this, or what have you. And then, just seeing the viral challenges that, that happen, I don't know, aspects of like, obviously if you do not have a romantic partner,
Hmm.
there's a lot about Valentine's Day that has been, like like self-love marketed, so we have like the galentines and the palentines, instead of like, the traditional romance and things like that. So I don't know, it's just like what do you think about like the commercialization of Valentine's Day?
I think, well, I know for me, the commercialization of Valentine's Day really is it's a strong portion of why I don't like Valentine's Day. Just
Mm,
to begin with, like I'm a firm believer that there should not just be one day out of the year that my person shows how much that they care about me,
right.
and if I'm not feeling the love throughout the year, then that's a person that's not meant for me. Like yeah, I get the beauty of it all and
Mm,
how you know it's over romanticized and all that. Like I hear people who love it. I hear you all. I get it, but the day
mm,
in itself is not really important. Like you said, Valentine's Day starts off in January at this point. And granted, there are certain things like the Reese's Red Velvet things that they release. I kind of want to try one of those things, but I'm quite
mm,
certain it's just red Reese's. So that's not really going to change much. But it's just seeing the pressures that people put their partners under just to make them feel special. And I'm just like, fam, like, wh what do you recognize what you're even communicating about what's going on in your relationship? That one, you do not feel special throughout the year. Like, these are things that we need to start reflecting on.
exactly.
Like, yes, you can get the red things. Yes, you can get the items the day after when they go on sale because we might as well. Yes, you can embrace the funness of Valentine's Day, but I think we really do take it so serious that we forget that we are dating a human being, that we forget that this is a person that we are engaging with for the sole purpose of either enjoying their time or spending the rest of our time with them.
Mm,
That it really sucks away the beauty of the day, like most things what capitalism does.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I, I wish that it can be a lot more people looking at, you know, what am I trying to say? I wish that people could approach Valentine's Day with the perspective of I'm just here to have a good time. I'm just here to spend time, focus on the quality time of it all, and
Mhm.
not the social media aspect of it has to be a certain way. Like I really do enjoy the funny videos that come out around this time too.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I saw this one video on TikTok of this girl in where was she? In a Family Dollar or something. She was in the dollar store. She's
Mhm.
walking and the caption says my bae went out went all out for Valentine's Day for me. I'm like, that's funny because all you see in the video is her walking and just balloons on the ceiling. And then
Gotcha.
she at the end says, I'm at the dollar store. Calm down. And then it reminds me of the people who like purchase all those damn re rose petals just to,
Mhm.
blanket a fucking bed, which to me, if I come home and there's confetti and flowers all over a bed or the floor, my first question is going to be, who the absolute fuck do you think is going to clean this up?
Clean this up.
Because it's not going to be me. You're inconveniencing
Exactly.
me trying to express your love. This is not the kind of love I want. You can go.
Or even how we've gotten into like how we talk about like AI all the time and like
Hmm.
AI being used to like generate these like fake romance predictions or like these Valentine horoscopes. Like we already have to deal with horoscopes like on a day in, day out basis. And now, with Valentine's Day, it gets like amplified because everybody is wanting to know what's my love horoscope, like looking like, and it's like it's probably gonna say the same thing that it's been saying for what you've been following the entire year. They just gonna put Valentine's Day on
Mm, that part. Maybe your love horoscope is that you need to find self-love.
it. Yeah.
It's the best kind.
Yes. But I do have to say though, the one thing I do admire though, especially like as we talk about like I don't know, like a Gen Z generation is I do like how the traditional notions of Valentine's Day are not like just set in romance. So I tend
Hmm.
to see that with like younger people a lot. Like it's not like a one size fits all kind of romance aspect. You see like in this very like hybrid form of like romance, friendship, self-love,
Hmm.
humor, and things like that. And I think, as much as I talk about not posting everything online and stuff like that, I do think that Valentine's Day is a rare opportunity for because people feel lonely, of course, like throughout the
Mm,
entire year. I just think that
yeah.
with aspects like Valentine's Day, it can be like a double down on
Hmm.
that. And so I think that, yeah, on one hand, it's like, okay, I don't need all of these reminders around me, about the fact that, oh, I may not be in a relationship or, I may not be close to people or, what have you. But I think on the opposite end, just like how I've always thought with any type of digital world or technology or social media, you never know like what somebody seeing your post or seeing your video,
Hmm.
may do to help them or, help their self-esteem or, what have you. So I don't know. It's always been like a push and pull, with how we glorify, certain, celebrations. Cause I wouldn't even for me, I don't even necessarily call Valentine's Day a holiday from, for me. To me, it's
Hmm.
more marketed as like a celebration day.
Mm,
But like you say, I've always had this traditional notion of if I was partnered, I do not need to have one day that is set in stone, of reminding a partner that, what they
mhm.
mean to me or, anything like that. That should be going on all year round.
Yeah. And I don't think we really do focus enough on the lonely aspect of the day,
Mm.
because when you were talking, it really struck a memory of what, when I was on the apps or whatever, when I would see people rushing to, spend Valentine's Day with somebody or to find
Mhm.
someone to quickly hook up with and all that, just so that they're not spending the day alone. Because I'll say a lot of that is a byproduct of the commercialization because it is marketed as a day to spend with somebody, right?
Right.
And if you don't have somebody now, you're hyper fixating on not having somebody, and now you're feeling lonely, and the feelings of lonely can easily lead to feeling depressed. And now you're just stuck in a slump. And all of
Mhm.
this is just because you feel as though that you're supposed to be with somebody, or you feel as though that it's necessary to spend that day with people
Right.
versus just allowing it to be a day, right? It's
Yeah.
if you don't have anybody on this day, then that's your problem. That you're a pariah in a sense. And that's not true. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really true. And yeah, it's just one of those things that I think obviously, just like with any day, you can always make it into whatever it is that you want it
Mhm.
to. And as we've often said, being alone doesn't mean that you're lonely.
Yeah.
So I think that no matter if you are, alone or if you're, dating, you're in a situationship, a actual relationship, whatever, it is I think it's just one of those things to like take stock in about, obviously if you celebrate, with someone else or with multiple someone else's. Um, just really segmenting about what like Valentine's actually, means to you. And maybe
Mm,
for a lot of people it turns into like, hey, this is like one of the rare times that me and my partner or partners where we prioritize self-care, you know.
mm,
So if that's meaning like having like a new experience together. Now, mind you, these are things that you should already be doing, but I do think that there is something to say like Valentine's can be a time where it gets you out of like a usual routine.
hmm. That's
So it's
fair.
kind of like, no, like, and so I think it's kind of goes back to like that classic conversation about what does it mean to actively date? Because it's like when you've been together with somebody for a minute, you can get very complacent. And then dating becomes like, oh, yeah, we just about to chill and watch TV, or things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the chill and watch TV, date, but don't make that like the norm.
Mix it
Like
up every now and
you have to,
again.
yeah, if you're interested in somebody, no matter if it's a first date, a third date, a fifth date, or if it's 2 years into your relationship, you have to continue to actively, you know, uh, date your partner. And that doesn't just mean, like Netflix and chill.
hmm And that's literally a lot of what comes up in couples therapy, to be real. Uh, to hear a lot of people who've been together for over 5, 10 plus years, and
Mhm.
a popular complaint is that they miss the things that they used to do when they first started. And a lot of
Yeah.
that revolves around going on dates, going outside, and not just being secluded inside of the home, always
Yeah,
watching Netflix, always watching a show. It's or even just engaging in something different in inside of the home, right? So even those things kind of just, you know, fall by the wayside. So yeah,
exactly.
disrupting that norm is good. Kind of had a thought about the amount of relationships that ended up having turmoil or just ending because of Valentine's
Yeah,
Day, and how ridiculous that can be. But yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm,
Well, on that note, something that does go great with Valentine's is, of course, music. Of course, we have to have
mhm,
we have to have the music, and uh, you know, the other, kind of thing I wanted to address for tonight, even though the official celebration won't happen until like September.
mhm,
Anybody who listens to us will come to know that Brandy, the singer Brandy Norwood, is actually my favorite singer of all time. I am a Brandy stan. So I just wanted to just spend some minutes just like congratulating her on 30 years of her debut album. And so, like I say, officially that won't happen until September. But what ended up happening this past week during the Valentine's, time week was that an exclusive double LP vinyl edition came out of her debut album. And so, you had that was like going on online. It wasn't anything that was like trending or anything like that, but you had, of course, a lot of people in the music industry from Mariah Carey to Tony Braxton, a lot of producers, heavy hitting producers that was, just really giving their kudos to Brandy, everything that she has accomplished and done. From again her early days on television with Thea and Moesha, to obviously, of course, she is our first Black Cinderella,
mhm,
working alongside with Whitney Houston and just everything that she has given to music as the quote unquote vocal Bible. Just the nature of her harmonies, her runs, the reason why she is, if you're not familiar, the reason why she's titled the vocal Bible is not because she has like the best, is subjective, like the best voice in the world, even though I do think so. But it's more so of that when you are somebody who is vocally intricate like her, like I say, between her harmonies, her runs, the vocal control that she has, she is literally a blueprint. She's a singer. So, in a lot of circles, even though I've always felt that, she doesn't get kudos that she needs to. She's always been a singer. Anytime you hear any type of pop R&B artists, even artists in other genres, they will, always mention Brandy in some type of capacity. And so I just really wanted to give kudos and shout outs to one of my, of course, favorite singers. But I wanted to, do that to also have this larger conversation though about somebody like Brandy and even other artists that, who may be our faves or that we know, like when you get to be like 30 plus years in the game, one of the things that I love about Brandy and Usher and, so many other artists is that they hit big when they were like teenagers, when they were around
Mhm.
14, 15 years old. And it's like they just like get better with time. So it's like, getting into that mind state, about the fact that you hit a critical acclaim as a teenager and then now moving into like adulthood throughout all your ebbs and flows and phases and things like that, that now, like you just get you like, just having that thought process, like you just
Mhm.
get better with time. So I just, like wanted to like just really like hone in on that, like what it's really like to have a 30 plus year career in music.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, what do you think about that? Like the just the nature of that.
I think it's a true testament of their talents,
Mhm.
because it's like when people come into certain things for a job versus a career.
Right.
These are people who recognize their talent, knew their talent, and they are true artists because they are crafting that, right? Versus the other people who may come into the music industry just for the money of it all.
Mm.
And those are the ones that tend to fizzle out the most because there's not a true drive to
Yeah.
keep them motivated, to keep them going, because you can't sharpen something that's not there.
Yeah.
You can't sharpen something that is only motivated by the finances of it all, because what happens when those finances start to shake a little bit? And I think with a lot of artists, especially like with Brandy, she continued to craft her talent even when there were downfalls, even when there's rumors about how, she might not be in the best situations and whatnot, or even those real lived experiences that may have come up in her history, even when it comes to drama from association with family members that may come up.
Mhm.
She's still focusing on how she can be a better artist, how she can be a better singer.
Yeah.
You can even say the same with Usher and my favorite Nita, of course. But like these are people who are in the industry for themselves and their craft, and not just I need to be here to make this money, to make this one hit. Rather than it being chasing the dollars, it is chasing my next all-star performance. And shout out to Beyonce because that's something that I see her doing too, and many
Yeah.
others like her. Meg Thee Stallion, another one.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to be the best version of my artistic self in every
Yeah.
single performance that I put out there. And if your fave isn't like that, I'm sorry to
Mhm.
tell you.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. And I've had many conversations with like friends over the years about like differences between like me, of course, because there's something always different about like, okay, yeah, we go from the disco age and then like moving into like those early days of like hip hop and rap, and then we get into like my favorite like which is the '90s and 2000s like smooth R&B and stuff like that. And something that I have a conversation with friends and stuff a lot of time is just like how music has changed so much. But one person said something to me in particular that really had me going. Of course, the conversation always veers to like, oh, like the music of today and blah 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 this and those kind of things. Kind of always like downplaying
Mhm.
today's music. And I liked how my friend said one time he was like, well, the thing is that I don't downplay anybody's music, even today's music, because it's like I'm not the audience of today's music.
That part.
So it's like I'm not going to perpetually like say like, oh, this is bad or this is not what I will listen to. It's not made for me to listen to. Like music that I grew up with was around peak of when I was young enough to appreciate music, and now those artists who still come out with music and things like that, that's my era of music. Now and he was like, yeah, if I get into like new artists and stuff like that, yeah, that's fine, but that's not necessarily music I grew up with.
Mhm.
So I just kind of like that kind of like perspective of like not downplaying any era of music, but just knowing that when music was, like when you were the audience for that music, or like
Mhm.
coming in and out of time. And something else that was a very prevalent conversation that I've always had is that, when we think about artists, I think when I think about the biggest thing between artists of today and, artists of the past, no matter what era, I don't know, it's something behind not just the artist, but the production of surrounding music. I always felt like no matter who you were listening to, there was something about them that you didn't just know them, you knew like the producer. So like I'm just gonna bring up some examples. Like, for instance, Brandy, you knew a Brandy record when you heard it. You knew that
Mhm.
that was a Dark Child record. You knew when you heard Aaliyah in Timbaland. You
Mhm.
so it's kind of like artists,
Babyface.
yeah, it wasn't just about the artists, it was about it was about the producers and the production. So even if you didn't follow that artist, you knew like at least about what it sounded like. And I
Mhm.
know for myself, even though I do like, some of, today's, hits and things like that, to me, one of the struggling things I have as a listener is that, I'll hear somebody and I'm just like, is that so and so, or is that so and so? Because it's not anything that they sound bad or anything like that, but to me it's like there's nothing that's distinctive about their production, because we live in an era, I think, of music now where everything is about catching a vibe. It's kind of like when you listen to music, either you're going to be listening to what I like to say is a lot of times called mumble rap,
Yeah,
or
that's
like, okay, and I'm
it's
not
the
going to say
genre.
like,
It's the genre.
yeah, it's a genre. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of times you'll be listening to mumble rap, or if I am listening to a good singer, it's usually like, the singer has a nice voice, but there's nothing like distinctive about like the sound
Mhm.
associated with them. So I think that that's why you have certain artists that they struggle to find like their identity as they're coming, kind of into their own, because they're not in the nature of like finding their sound. And of course you
Mhm.
don't know what your sound is until you get in the studio and obviously all those things. But I know that's why some older artists, why they've ultimately wanted to start back, let's go back to basics, let's go back to artist boot camps and stuff like that, because there's a lot that has been lost when it comes to
Mhm.
artistry. And we're not saying that you need to go back to the 90s or go back to days or whenever. You can't recapture that. You have to take the plugs of the formulas that work and
Mhm.
make it work for now and for the future.
I think it's like for me, it's like whenever let me just go to the phrase, know your history, right? And I think that's the thing that's really being lost in a lot of the artistry now is that people don't even understand where their samples are coming from these days.
Yeah.
Like the meaning behind what made that sample in itself so powerful.
Mhm.
What is it that you're trying to add to it with your artistry? How are you going to make this sample or make this piece of music your own? And I think a lot of what comes out today, well, I feel as though a lot of what comes out today just lacks that honesty that
Mhm.
many artists put out in their works over the decades.
Mhm.
Because the motivation's out there. Again, capitalism ruins all. Like,
Mhm.
like for the sake of survival, we're sacrificing our craft. We're sacrificing our integrity of the performance, our integrity of the production,
Yeah.
and it's just being lost in. I was about to say mumble rap. I don't want to shade mumble rap like
No,
that
look, and,
because
and for
people
anybody
love
that,
it.
and listen, let me clarify, for anybody that likes mumble rap, I am not dissing mumble rap. If that is your jam, I am not here to diss anybody's what they
Not at
listen to,
all.
what they like. I love the fact that we all can have various different like
Yes.
love for music. That's why music is colorblind. That's why it's universal.
Yes, that part. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just like for me, if a song doesn't touch the heart, it's not going on the playlist. It's not even getting a replay. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I really have that thing. Like I know within like 15 seconds whether or not I like a song. I will like.
okay. Like, I don't know who grandma put their foot in the pudding of whoever produced Ella Mae's little her EP, but every single one of those songs got on the playlist because I was
Yeah.
like, these are bops. This is a good time. Like I, I just live for a day or a week where there's just a nothing but releases and everything is hype. On some level, even when it comes back to the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, when they were releasing things, granted I was on the Kendrick side regardless, but when they were releasing music, just to see how engaged a lot of people were listening to both sides of it, like they're finding the beauty in Drake's
Mhm.
releases and finding the beauty in Kendrick Lamar's releases. It's like that is artistry. That is beautiful. Come back as Aubrey Drake, retire, be Aubrey again, go back to acting.
Mm,
But but like yeah, I kind of hate it for the generations as well that a lot of the artistry is just being lost. That like to shift it a little bit, a thing that I really appreciate about TikTok is that I was able to
mm,
learn a lot of the history of music through just listening to samples. How they will be like, oh, you hear this song, this is where that comes from, this is where that comes from. But the crazy thing about it is that each song that they used or that they backtracked were hot
mm,
from when they released. They are very memorable, even for myself. I like the songs, but then I think of other songs or other artists that, were not necessarily included in those, and it's just like it just lays flat. Like it's for a moment.
yeah,
I enjoy it for the day. I enjoy it for the hour. I enjoy it for that little period of time while it's hot, while it's on the radio. I dance to it every now and again, but it's not going to be something excuse me, it's not going to be something that I'm going to get my life to. It's not going to be a classic at
yeah.
all.
And I also think that we also have to realize, like, depending on like the age that you are,
Hmm.
you're gonna be removed from not gonna say a lot of aspects of like younger generations, but just like from even perspectives. Like one of the main things I love doing is like watching YouTube videos, YouTube reaction videos, and I love watching people react to music. Like
Hmm.
music that they're hearing for the first time. And so when I first started doing it, I don't know, it used to like burn me up and infuriate me because it's like, oh my God, like how have you not heard this? Or whatever. Because like music used to be just such a family experience. Like
Hmm.
you grew up listening to what your parents listened to. And I'm not going to say that obviously that's not happening today because of course it does, but I don't know. I think somewhere along the lines, like that, like music being about also like the love of family, and
Hmm.
that family connection, has been lost. But then it's like I see it reverberated in some aspects. Give prime example. I always love going to the Universal Circus. And like I take my mom and everything like that. And it's a really just good, great time. Literally last year when we went, they were, playing music to, get the crowd, get the crowd hyped and everything. And it's good to, see the kids having a good time and having fun. Literally, they put on Keisha Cole's 2009 hit Love. And if you if you know Keisha Cole, you're a fan, you know that,
It sounded horrible in there.
you know, but the funny thing is, out of all of the adults in there, the kids were the ones singing Keisha Cole word for word, lyric for lyric. These like 6, 7 to 10-year-old little kids are singing Keisha Cole's Love. And I am sitting up here turning around in awe because I'm like, what do y'all know about this?
They know a classic when they hear one. That's what you
They
need to
do.
recognize. Because
And
that song was legendary. Because we all knew that we could have the pride in ourselves. We can have the confidence that she had on that actual song to
yes.
sing as bad as we can and be okay with it.
And you know, and it's just it had me so in awe because, like I say, they knew when I tell you the kids, they knew it lyric for lyric. Like if Keisha Cole was there, she wouldn't have had to sing the song, like because the kids they had her. Like so, it's just it goes to prove, like how you were talking about TikTok earlier. I have found out through watching a lot of these like YouTube reactions, the reason why a lot of younger people are reacting to like older movies and music and stuff like that is because they will see memes and snips of older
Mm,
content that has become like part of like culture on TikTok. And then so they see this scene or they hear like this part of a song or whatever. And so now they want to actually watch like the music video or, what have you. And it's like, oh, okay, now I understand where that came from or, whatever. And I'm thinking like, okay, but where's like the family aspect of like when we were introducing, to music and stuff like that? Because I mean, like that's how music gets reverberated through the generations. Like, you
yeah.
listen to what your parents listen to or what your grandparents listen to, or whatever. And so I'm like, so somewhere along lines of social media, it's kind of like I don't know. I'm not gonna say TikTok replaced,
Mm,
family connection, not necessarily, but somehow it's like okay, but that's like one of like the main platforms, you know kids are like discovering like older classics.
yeah. Well, I'm just gonna blame capitalism on that as well. But but no, like for you're 100% right because the reason why I'm a Anita Baker fan, I love
Mhm.
Luther Vandross and Toni Braxton was my wife up until I graduated high school, is
Mhm.
because of the music that my mom played when I was a lot younger. I
Yeah.
grew early memory of mine is literally singing to Luther Vandross when I was like 3 or 4 years old. Like so like
Look, you can't tell me I ain't Luther.
okay, not not at all. I might not be able to sing like that man, but I'm going to carry a note. That's all
Yeah.
you need to know. Uh, well,
That is
speaking on
wonderful.
carrying, not really, but
Mhm.
one of the thing I wanted to bring up for today is something that happened in a session of mine, and this is something that I've noticed in just outside of therapy spaces, but just with a lot of men in general.
Yeah.
So essentially, what came up is the willingness to participate in sex work, well, paying for sex work in
Mhm.
lieu of going out on dates because of essentially where this particular person was, their mindset, and also others like them, is that I'm going out on these dates. I'm putting in money and effort to engage with this person, even though it's understood that the focus here is for sex, right?
Mhm.
We've had the conversation that I do want to have a sexual relationship with this person. They were
Mhm.
open to it, but they've also communicated to them, to, that individual that in order for them to get sex, I need to be wine and dine. So essentially, from having these experiences with these people, dating these people, doing all the things, for the purpose of sexual gratification, we end up to a place where, why am I spending this money on this person
Mhm.
and not even getting as much sex as I may want, or not having as much access to that when
Mhm.
I could just be spending that money on someone who's a sex worker and still get my needs met that way. So,
Right.
what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like exactly the same, but like immediately what I think about when I hear you say that is like how we think about a little bit like how gigolos are. Like
Mm,
if you like, of course, if our audience knows like the classic concept of gigolos is that it was to be paid to like date and to have a good time and like
mm,
for a lot of, men, who, obviously were in that life, yes, there was a sexual component that could be a part of it depending on the price for it. So it's kind of like,
Mm,
it's kind of like how I think about like these like sites like Rent a Man, and just all these type of things. It's like if I don't want to go through the, no, I'm not gonna say traditional, but like the escalator of like
hmm
having to, meet someone, get to know them, do all this and all that. It's like if I knew I wanted something that is not just like hookup, but it's not, like dating per se, it's
hmm
like why not, go through like those, those avenues. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting I think it's a very interesting aspect that I think we have in society, and we have done it through many ways of like, obviously how we used to talk about prostitution, and now
hmm
obviously we have different terminology to say sex work. Of
hmm
course. So it's different forms that have gotten again reverberated through time and generation.
Yeah, like for me, I feel like it's if you don't feel like engaging in that emotional connection with the person, if you don't feel as though that you're getting what you want out of the relationship, then yeah, do by all means go a different route. Like
Yeah.
if you want to pay for a sex worker, pay for a sex worker. It's not necessarily in a way of abusing the person or anything of that nature. It is just you because anyone who's had genuine conversations with sex workers will understand that um in the right situations, the sex worker has the power in the room, right? Like there's a area of negotiation of this is what this is for, this what are your interests, what you're looking to do, and then going from there. Like you're it's how to phrase this because I don't want it to sound like you're using the person, but it is a part of the job description in a sense, are what you're paying for. Um, what is the words? Like it's not necessarily an abuse of that person, especially if it's somebody that you connect through like seeking arrangements or something of that nature. It is more so of you're coming to an understanding of what this encounter is going to look like, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also think that, uh, because I've always had the conversations about, you know, asking yourself about what does sex actually mean to you?
Mm,
Because,
that.
for a lot of people, sex is sex does have an emotional component, component aspect to it. So that's why
Yep.
people find safety in, engaging in sex in the confines of a relationship, or some type of commitment, or, things like that. And, I think that, you can have other people that they view sex as just a kind of physical gratification aspect.
hmm
So it's like the sex does not, kind of implicate what I expect or I think about you as a person. So,
Right.
so I think that, kind of like thinking about our attitudes towards sex, like, I think about with this case, it could be like a time versus like an emotional labor kind, aspect. So,
hmm
like obviously we stay on the grind. We have busy careers, or we may prefer like a no strings attached encounter. So we find, maybe like paying for sex offers this kind of straightforward exchange without the demands that we have
hmm
for traditional dating. And so because we also have to think about if we're actually involved in dating, right? Dating is a time consuming emotional labor. Because if you think about all the
Oof.
nuances that come with dating, there's the flirting, there's the messaging,
hmm
there's the planning for dates, managing expectations, just all these things. And, and I think especially when we get into like this, I guess you want to say modern dating culture, where we have all types of mixed signals, we have
hmm
ghosting that happens, and just all of that. It's like, look, after you've been around so many times, it's like, let me not do this. But I also think about, uh again, like emotional complexities with this kind of aspect, because
hmm
again, if you are somebody who attaches, vulnerability or a need for safety when it comes to sex, then of course, I'm not gonna say like you're gonna find dating more comfortable, but that's what you're more comfortable engaging in versus
Hmm.
like where sex can meet a physical need without the emotional risk. So like
Yeah.
I'll say even like for somebody like myself, yes, I need to feel emotionally safe, of course
Same.
always, but I have always felt like I can be a kind of friends with benefits type of person. Not everybody is built like that. So I can, as long as I feel safe and I feel comfortable, I don't necessarily equate sex with emotion.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like to say, yeah, we can have a physically good time. And then I'm not going to say detach, but it doesn't necessarily color like the relationship that like I have with a person, no matter what that type of relationship is. And that's why I've always kind of, I don't know, and this may be a conversation for another day, like when we get into conversations about like what bad sex is, is it more so like the connection is what makes it bad, or is it more so we're talking about like the techniques that people are doing, that
Hmm.
makes something bad, so I don't know. But yeah, just the emotional complexity. Because even I think about I have a friend who is neurodivergent, and he explained to me one time that he actually prefers, because of the fact that he has social anxiety, that he actually finds, kind of structured, kind of expectation free, I guess, kind of encounters,
Hmm.
more manageable than the overwhelming stimulation of like the unpredictability of dating.
Mm.
And I thought that was a very interesting perspective and I wonder if, obviously, not just speaking for our neurodivergent, people out there, but I wonder, is that a aspect that we actually find safety in, because dating is such an unpredictable aspect. Because I even think about like our content creators, and I have seen like on who are sex workers, and I see on a lot of platform. I see a lot of times on a lot of platforms that a lot of them are actually like pretty shy in real life. Like they have like a
Yes.
lot of people openly admit, because we have these aspects that we can hide behind a screen and we can post our bodies and everything like that. Like you're more comfortable in showing your body and engaging in sex talk and just all these things online, but you openly admit in a forum, it's like, oh yeah, but I don't really have the courage like to go up and talk to somebody.
Exactly.
You
Exactly. Oh, that is a conversation that we definitely need to dive deep into one of these days. But with men similar to, my client, because I've noticed how this is a very prevalent conversation, especially with heterosexual men. Um, and I don't know if a lot of that is attributed to like manosphere stuff and all that, but I do want to at least um put some of the impact on just the societal norms and
Mhm.
how those norms in itself teach men, masculine presenting cis males, that their role is to be someone who has to provide financially for a lot of things. And because of that financial contribution, sex is easily equated to something where there, once I put the financial capital into it, I am expecting to get this particular outcome. And I feel as though because of that norm, it makes it easier for people to think that, oh, okay, yeah, sex
Yeah.
work will solve the problem. And truthfully, like again, I will encourage somebody to at least explore, because it's best to explore these options to understand yourself a little bit more. But outside of just exploring it, really start to learn or think about what we are socialized to believe. Why is it that you feel as though you cannot be upfront with a person and just say, "Hey, I just want." to have a sexual relationship with you without any kind of financial component towards it. If
Mhm.
or just being willing to deny the offer if it's not something that's aligned with what you're looking for. Meaning, if this person communicates to you that in order for us to engage in this activity, I need to be wine and dine. And if that's
Yeah.
not your jazz, then go play in another blues place. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like this aspect that you're getting at is like paying for intimacy, like you say, can actually be more financially transparent
mm-hmm,
in dating, you know, because like we say, when we're dating, we're investing, you know, I'm not gonna say like expensive dates, but you know, dating in general is expensive,
mm-hmm,
no matter really what you're doing. But it's like so it's the dating, it's the gifts, it's the lifestyle adjustments, and you're doing all of this without any type of guaranteed emotional or physical reciprocity, should I say.
mm-hmm,
You know, and I'm not saying that, you know, just because you take somebody out on a date that you should be expecting these things in return. No. But it is the nature of, you know, just what you want to give your time and commitment to. So
mm-hmm.
again, like you say, if we're in a state of yeah, let's just, you know, put cards out on the table. And that's why we often you will hear Vern and I always talk about like just be honest with people because it's
Okay.
like we live in a time where you never know what people are down for. So instead of
Listen.
you just so instead of you trying to make up these lies on top of lies, you know, I have this new saying, I heard this from one of my shows, like, don't be a lying liar who lies. You know, look, don't be a lying liar who lies. So, you know, I just, you know, just be honest about what it is that you want and allow people the chance to either accept or reject. Because if the
Mm-hmm.
person accepts, then hey, no, you know, wonderful. Explore whatever it is that you want to. If it's a rejection, at least you know where that person stands up front. And so you're not
Exactly.
getting yourself into an emotional turmoil because now not only are you not getting what you want to out of this person, but now you're trying to cover lies that you've told, you know, because of what? Because you're
Right.
afraid of being told no, or that's not what that person's into.
Exactly. And I think that's the issue with how people so easily adapt societal norms are just the narratives that we've been taught throughout our lives and just not wanting to challenge it. Because just think about how many individuals out here, just in total, not just men, how many people out here put on image of who they are supposed to be, especially when it comes to dating or when it comes to engaging in sex, and how putting on this image causes a lot more emotional harm, a lot more miscommunication, a lot more disconnect because you're engaging with somebody through a falsehood. You're telling this person, "Oh, I really like anime," and you haven't seen not one, right? But
Right.
just to have some kind of connection with the person because you found them attractive. It's okay to find somebody attractive and also recognize that person's just not for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah, but definitely that's a very interesting aspect, and I think that's a conversation, facets of conversations we would definitely be circling back around to in different forms.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I do want to bring up for tonight's
Mhm.
conversation is, oh, that reminds me, we need to talk about this Keto Rose situation. If you don't know about it, you need to know about it. Oh my God. But I said tonight's conversation, then it all just clicked. I have not brought that up on this podcast, but that's not what I'm here for tonight. But Duolingo's bird, Duolingo's owl.
Mhm.
Duolingo is on some fuck shit, and I love it because the beef that Duolingo's owl has with Drake, I don't understand. It came out of nowhere, and I've been loving it since. And it was revitalized at the Super Bowl, and now um, the Duolingo bird had a damn funeral, and all I'm just trying to figure out is who did the body. The body was looking good, a little bit torn on the on the edge a little bit, but they did a good job on the body. Why is
Mhm.
it that this app is so fucking petty? Like, I don't know if you have, do you have Duolingo on your phone?
I don't have it on my phone, but I know like because I teach, so I know like some a lot of my students use it.
So I have it, right? I
Mhm.
was learning a language and I wasn't on it for about, uh, at that time, probably 6 months or so. My bird turned into a old version of itself. Wrinkles around the eyes, dark spots on the face, just looking down and depressed. I'm just like, what in the, why is this app this petty? The spirit of that app needs to go on somewhere because it's doing the most. It's telling you that, oh, because you're neglecting me, I'm just slowly dying. It's just, it's a petty ass app. I love it for how petty it is, but it needs to stop. It's bullying.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So just to kind of contextualize a little bit, and let me know if I have the story. Let me know if I have the story right.
Hmm.
So following, Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance, Duolingo's like social media team like posted a message. I think it was on Instagram, right?
Oh, the A minor. Yes. No, it was
Okay,
a
yeah.
TikTok.
Like TikTok. Okay. So it was like something about like announcing like the death of like their mascot,
Hmm.
like the duo, the owl, right? And so like the post very funnily suggested that authorities were investigating Drake, you know. And so, this kind of I don't know if you want to say it's a gesture, just kind of like sparked this whole, kind of feud, I guess I guess with Drake. So it's like I know like other users, especially like on Reddit, especially like were discussing like like Duolingo's like humorous approach, like they were pointing out the absurdities of like a language app engaging in like a mock feud with somebody like Drake who's a global music artist.
What? So unhinged. It is so un. You are a. I do not see Rosetta Stone coming after people like this. You are an app to teach people how to speak new languages.
But I think it's something, but I also think it's something that this is a very clear example about how brands, I think,
Hmm.
can really capitalize on like these like trending cultural narratives, right?
Hmm.
To enhance their social media presence, right? And it makes it so like it engages with a broader audience because if you're not someone that's familiar with Duolingo, this right here
Hmm.
made their name. So, it's kind of like, well, we may think about like this like being because it is funny. It really I think represents that kind of interplay that happens between like when you have something in pop culture and then you think about
Hmm.
brands and their marketing strategies and what they do. So yeah, and I'm currently like for all my listeners, like I'm currently teaching a digital writing publishing course. So I'm actually really excited to like try to bring this up like in my class because it's very funny.
It's a mess. This app is just petty as hell, and I love it. For any person who has not ever had Duolingo on their phones or on any other device that could hold it, this is not a sponsorship. I wish they were, because I think me and the bird, our pettiness lives together. I'm sick. I just re-downloaded the app because again I have not used it in a long time, so I offloaded. It just updated. The bird is actually dead. I I fucking hate this app. Why?
Uh,
I quit. I just anyways, Tara, do you have any last words for the funeral of this damn bird in this episode?
just rest in peace to the bird. Just rest in peace to Duo the Owl. Like, it didn't have to go like that, but we all gotta kick the bucket sometimes.
I, I heard it was caught by a stray.
It'd be rough out here in these streets, in these rap and language streets. You never know.
Look, if you don't use the right words, we see what happens. This
Mhm.
is why it's good to, communicate, learn the language because you say the wrong thing, you end up God. Rest in
Exactly.
peace, Duo.
Exactly. But yes, we thank everybody so much for tuning in to us, and like always,
Yes, thank y'all so much. Catch us next week as we release the next episode, which we might actually start talking about this situation with academics. We shall see because, wait, no, what did I just say that we were going to talk about?
we
Ugh,
said something about she said something about roses.
damn. You see how quick stuff leaves my mind? ADHD, y'all. We'll have all the
What
good
happened?
things for y'all next week. Y'all take care and see y'all then.
Right.